Hello and welcome everyone to our 57th session of Holocauster. My name is Michael and today I'm talking to Mukul Lalchandani, also called Mickey, from New York City in New York. Based in New York City with over 100 million in sales and with various awards and TV show appearances, Mukul is a licensed real estate salesperson with a Level Group, a licensed real estate brokerage, and with his own brand, The Modern Agent. Mickey, thank you so much for your time. I'm super pumped to have you on the show. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me, Michael. I really appreciate it. And thank you to all the people that are watching this video. I am a real estate agent based in New York City. I have been an agent here for almost a decade. I have closed over $100 million in sales in New York City alone. And I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. You started your career in Boston University. How was the journey from university now becoming a real estate agent in Manhattan?
It's very different. I don't think anybody I don't know many people in life that say that they're going to go to university, go to one of the best schools in anywhere, and then decide that they want to become a real estate agent. I think everybody just takes it as a stepping stone in life, especially to become a residential agent. And that's just what happened to me. I was in fashion for many years after college, in the fashion industry, and then I always had a passion for real estate, and I always wanted to be in it. And so I took the big jump back in 2008 when the market crashed. I don't know if you know, but in 2008 there was a big market correction in America, and that's when I jumped into real estate. In fact, the housing crisis happened at the same time. And I knew that if I could ride that wave and I could be successful at the beginning of a new market, I could ride the wave as it turned around.
Awesome. That's super interesting. So that means you leveraged definitely the situation over there and then went all in and also made sure that you can be an active real estate agent at that moment of time. The next question I have is you are having your own brand, The Modern Agent. Tell us a little bit how that started.
Sure. So I knew I wanted to be in real estate. And I knew that I didn't want to just become another agent. So since I had a background in marketing and branding and fashion, I felt I had a very unique approach in order to be different from the marketplace. And so I had kept thinking about how to leverage my skill set and be different. And at that time, no agents were branding themselves. In fact, I think it's still a very new concept and it's catching on now, but I've been doing it for over a decade. And I knew that I needed a name that would be fresh and always relevant, no matter if we're in 2020 or 2030 or 2040, it's still a relevant name. So I worked through many different brands, and I checked to make sure that there were no trademark violations or that it was existing. And through a lot of trial and error and feedback from the marketplace, I landed on The Modern Agent.
I think it's a great name. I think it's very, very interesting. It's very good. And that's also obviously working along Level Group. So you're both like a licensed real estate agent for Level Group, and then you have your own brand. That's okay.
Yes, correct. So in America, again, the agents are not, back in the day, agents were not allowed to brand themselves. They would just they would have to work under a broker. I have qualified to become a broker for many, many years, and I could have started my own brokerage. But the firm that I'm at gives me so much latitude and flexibility that I essentially have my own business. I just park my license as the brokerage, but I completely work autonomous on my own.
Okay, makes total sense. Perfect. Give us an overview of New York City as a city to really live in. I think most of us know it from a tourist standpoint once you have traveled there, but really living in New York City, how is it?
Oh, New York is one of the most amazing cities in the world. I myself am originally from Hong Kong, and Hong Kong is, I would say, the New York of Asia. And New York is such a large city that every neighborhood has its own feel and culture and diversity. Let's say one day you are like, oh, I want to feel like I'm in Brazil. You can go to Brazil town. Oh, I want to have one of the best Michelin star Japanese foods. You can just wake up, book it online, and be there in the evening. You can literally do anything you want every day and never. And the options are so endless that you can keep doing stuff all the time. And even if you were able to do it all, by tomorrow there's a whole bunch of new things anyway. So it's really an amazing place for someone like myself that just enjoys life and culture and wants to experience a lot of the most exciting, newest trends in life.
It's like having a journey around the world without leaving the city.
Yes, exactly. And I would also say, because I went to university in Boston. Boston is a quaint college town. After college, you start feeling a little bit old because everyone stays the same age. Everyone stays up to about 20, 21 years old. The next place to go after you finish college is go to New York City, because New York City is like the adult child's playground. And there's so many fun things to do here.
That sounds amazing. What about it's so fast paced as well. Is it also not super exhausting? I mean, I live here in Zurich and it's far from being fast paced. How is it to live in Zurich, in New York City? Sorry.
There is a lot of energy. You feel the energy when you get off the plane. Actually, even when you're flying into the city, you just feel that energy coming off from especially in Manhattan. I've been here for 20 years, and it's a constant. You have to have a work mentality that you want to be successful, and that drive, you have to have it. Otherwise, it's very hard to survive. But if you can survive and you can do well, this is a wonderful place to prosper.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now coming a little bit to real estate in New York, give us an overview of maybe right now the most trendy and interesting neighborhoods and and districts which you have in New York City.
The wonderful thing about New York is we love to make brand new neighborhoods out of nothing. We like to take a existing neighborhood and slice it and dice it and let's call it something new. Currently, I live in an area in Midtown Manhattan, about 10 minutes from Empire State Building, which is a famous landmark in New York City. And in my specific neighborhood, it's one of the last Midtown areas that has seen a lot of growth. And so now there's a lot of things happening here. And the latest neighborhood is called Rose Hill. And it's on the east side around the Midtown area of Manhattan. And you're seeing a lot of growth happening over there. It's near the parks, it's near the water. It's easy access to going uptown and downtown. It's near the United Nations, so there's growth happening there. Some other areas that we're seeing, the interesting phenomenon about New York City nowadays compared to back in the day is that we're working on mega projects where basically developers would buy an entire neighborhood and build it from the ground up. So the most recent ones is Hudson Yards. It's one of the most expensive neighborhoods in New York City, if not the world. And what I mean that is that they took an entire swath of land over railroad tracks and built these super luxury buildings, condominium, hotel, mall, and they built it all above these train tracks, and they're very expensive. To give you an idea, I'm not so well versed with meters squared. I'll
That's
give
fine.
it to you.
Go ahead with the feet. Yeah.
Starting prices for a one-bedroom apartment, which is around 800 square feet, is starting at $2.5 million.
Okay.
Okay. Then you're looking at around $3,000 per square foot on average, starting at, and they have homes up to $8,000 per square foot in the city. And so some other big projects that are going on right now, there's one in downtown Manhattan in the Lower East Side called Essex Crossing. That area is also building the first underground park. What that means, if your audience is not familiar, a couple of years ago, we launched a new neighborhood called West Chelsea, near the Hudson Yards. Actually, they're a very expensive area, and they built this new park above ground on the old railroad tracks where the subway trains went. It's called the High Line. And because it was above ground, they call it the High Line. So now they're making a new park underground called the Low Line. And the Low Line is going to be the first underground park with trees and greenery. They're going to have holes.
That's crazy.
In the ceilings, which is underneath the street, and the sun is going to go through it, reflected on mirrors. That's going to hit onto the greenery areas.
Wow.
And so that's part of the Essex Crossing project. And that project is made up of 8 buildings, mixed use of condominiums, apartment buildings, retirement homes, shopping area, and also it has the largest indoor market in the US. But that's just launching right now. And then the one other very big trend that's happening in New York City, which has happened for last couple of years, is the growth of a neighborhood of a borough called Brooklyn. Brooklyn is separate from Manhattan, and whenever anyone thinks of New York City, they usually think of the iconic Manhattan view with all the tall buildings and the waterfront of down in downtown where the World Trade Center is. But right across the water is a borough called Brooklyn, and Brooklyn is expanding tremendously. The area had been rezoned to residential. They allowed a lot of buildings to build higher than the current zoning allowed for it. So they're building these super tall luxury towers now along the waterfront and also in downtown Brooklyn. There has been a huge price appreciation in the neighborhood as they continue to keep building in the area. What is interesting from our investors' perspective is that for a lot of investors that were buying in Manhattan, they're getting better returns in Brooklyn because now a lot of people are getting priced out of Manhattan are moving to Brooklyn. And so for investors, they're able to get the same amount of rental income in Brooklyn than they are getting in Manhattan. Yeah. However, the purchase price are typically 30% lower than Manhattan purchase price. So investors are getting a better rate of return buying in Brooklyn than buying in Manhattan.
But for an ROI, can I expect that?
Yeah. So from the rate of return on investment on average in New York City, average is around 3%. In Brooklyn, you can get 5 to 6%.
Okay. Plus the depreciation you also have to expect in Brooklyn, I assume.
Correct. There has been tremendous. I'll give you an example. When Brooklyn was just starting, maybe in 2010, my client had bought a 1-bedroom for $650,000 US. By 2017, that property value became $1.2 million US.
Okay.
So you can expect about 100% appreciation over the last 10 years. Now, today's market has slowed down. It's become a soft market overall. I believe that we got overheated. There was a lot of international buyers, especially from Asia, coming in and buying, but that has all stopped. And so we've been in a bit of a slump. There is a correction happening right now, but there are pockets of neighborhoods, micro neighborhoods, that are still growing.
I have, I think, 3 questions. The first question is interest rate right now. Is there an impact on it? Like, what's the interest rate right now?
So interest rate now in the US, if you're getting a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, it's around 2.75% to 3%.
Okay. In Germany, in Europe, or in Germany, we have around like 0.9 something. But
wow.
still, it's super low. I mean, it's
it's for America, it's very low. When my family bought in 2000, we were paying 11%.
Yeah.
So it's very low for New Yorkers, and I do work with a lot of clients from Asia, and they're seeing rates around 1% over there. So I do understand that.
Yeah. Do you see? I mean, on the one hand, you're saving on the interest rate. On the other hand, you have to pay for the appreciation of the property. In fact, it's a zero-sum game, isn't it?
That's correct. Absolutely.
Okay. Another question I have, you just mentioned the international investors, which more or less like right now are not as crazily investing anymore. Do you have any reason why that is?
So the major markets, I want to say A-class cities like New York, San Francisco, LA, we were getting a lot of buyers from China, from Southeast Asia, from Russia. Uh, there has been a crackdown in the number of the amount of money that can come into America, and a lot of this money restrictions and government intervention has really tightened up the market. So when the market was doing really well for these kind of buyers, a lot of developers were building specifically to these target markets. So they were building super luxury properties.
Got it.
And so when this dried up, all these super luxury properties were still coming to market. And so there was a glut of these very large, expensive homes that were not moving. Eventually, these prices started coming down and affecting the regular market in these tier A cities.
Yeah.
And so over time, the market started becoming soft, and this has been going on for about 3 years now.
Okay. I recently talked to one person from Vancouver. She said, yes, there's a cap right now for international investors. Sorry, not a cap. It's a real estate. It's a tax imposed for international investors. And also, Sergey from Berlin, he mentioned the rental cap, which we see in Berlin right now being imposed on a normal tenant.
What?
Yeah.
What is that?
It's a rental cap. So you are not allowed to ask for a higher rent price than stated by the municipality.
Okay.
Do you see something like this, happening or realistic for New York City?
So, first of all, America welcomes all buyers. There are no restrictions in terms of being able to buy. If you're buying the property legally and your funds can be traced to where they came from legally, there are no restrictions to buying and renting properties. In New York City specifically, there are some rent rules, but there are no caps in terms of how much you want to charge somebody and how it works. It's just that there are some rules in terms of how much security deposit you can get, how long is the term of the rental, things like that. There are some rules that you have to follow, but there are ways around it also. But you have to, as long as you follow the rules, you can do absolutely whatever you want.
Yeah, perfect. How does the market work from an agent perspective? I know about open houses. I know that the brokerages are super important, maybe also networking. How do you make sure that you, for example, are getting good deal flow? Are you also maybe focused on a certain neighborhood particularly, or a certain real estate assets type? How does that work?
So for me, I want to say that I've always been a little bit ahead of the trends in the marketplace for brokerages doing their business. Being that I was always a business owner, like when I owned my own business in fashion, I always thought of it as I have a product to sell and there is a demand out there. How do I connect my product with the consumers, and how do I make those deals happen? That's very basic. And so I have really been able to harness technology, and been so I have always been doing things a little bit ahead of the market, and so I've always been able to take advantage of online lead generation ways of getting clients from overseas, especially. Because I'm from Asia, 70% of my clientele is either Asian or from Asian descent.
Nice.
And I have a very niche kind of product that I sell, which is modern homes. And so it appeals to a very a niche kind of clientele that appreciates good design, easy to buy and rent also. And so I've created this kind of a unique situation for my own business, but it does not apply for the market overall.
Yep, absolutely. Perfect. You just mentioned the lead generation. I think the MLS system also is quite important, or definitely plays a big role. For someone who is not familiar with it, can you give us an overview? What is the MLS system and how does that work?
Sure. So the MLS is called the Multiple Listing Service. I know that a lot of countries do not have this kind of system. And what the system is a online system that all the brokerages share, where they can feed all the listings into one platform, and then it gets syndicated to all the brokerages at the same time. So me as an agent can log on to the MLS server, and I'm able to search listings that other brokerages have, and we're able to search based on the number of units, or number of bedrooms, bathrooms, price points, features, if they have a washer dryer or if they have outdoor space. And it really helps us to collaborate to bring as much demand of buyer pool to individual listings.
Okay, that means no one is more or less hiding the real estate listing for his or her own, because it's a win-win situation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So let me explain. So
Yeah.
we in New York are in New York City are members of the Real Estate Board of New York, which is I want to say a trade union. And our trade union helps us to collaborate between all the brokerages to share listings. And part of that agreement is that we also agree that if we bring a buyer to your listing, that we will automatically split the commission 50-50.
Okay.
And that way we don't have to be fighting and arguing that we're not getting the fair share, because everyone always gets a fair share.
Yeah.
And so if I'm a buyer's agent, this time I will get whatever, I'll split 50-50 with your listing. And then if I have a listing, I have to share my commission with you 50-50 also. So it really allows us to collaborate very easily throughout the market. Now, I will tell you that if you don't join this board, you do not have access to this MLS system. So not every agent has access to it. And the agents that don't have access to it are actually at a disadvantage, because they would then have to negotiate, and it's not guaranteed they will get that 50-50 split.
Yeah. I talked recently to one person from Germany. He was, unfortunately, it was in German, but he was exactly like in a very detailed manner complaining about the German legal landscape. That's exactly what we are missing, because it's not possible to make a contract, on a one-on-one basis. The transactional costs or communication costs are way too high, and especially also, unfortunately, in Germany, a lot of real estate agents are not, let's say, educated or don't have the legal degree to really make sure that they know how to write a contract which is really binding. And therefore, he was like, I would really like to have like the MLS system in Germany implemented, which would facilitate a lot of transactions, a lot of communication between agents and also between brokerages. I think it's one super big advantage. I also, once in a while, when I enter Zillow, for example, I see various agents listing the same property, which means then I can just more or less say, okay, I like Susan more than Tom, or is there any,
So you have to bring up a completely different situation.
sorry, okay.
So it's okay. Zillow is actually a online portal for listings, but the way they make money is through advertising. So what happens is that even if I have a listing and I am the listing agent, I put my listing out in the marketplace. Zillow will take that listing and then they will resell it to other agents that want to advertise in those specific zip codes. So essentially, their names will pop up first for a fee. There is a lot of controversy right now, especially in New York City, that the Real Estate Board of New York is trying to fight this, and the real estate community is trying to fight this, because we as agents work really hard to get listings. We build relationships with the sellers. We have to deliver a lot of service to get these listings, and then Zillow just makes money out of our listing, and resells it to other brokers. So imagine this: you are a potential buyer and you're interested in the property. You click on the first or second agent that you see on the listing.
Yeah.
That person has no idea what this listing is about.
Yeah.
They don't have any knowledge about the building, about the property, whether it's if there's anything they need to watch out for. And so many times when they find these listings, they will the agent that they contacted will actually push them to something else because they don't know anything about the listing, or they
Okay.
will give a lot of wrong information about the listing. So unfortunately, something like a Zillow is doing an injustice in a way because they're not being fully transparent on the experience.
Okay, I understand. So they just pay it's like Google AdWords. They just pay their self up in order, but everyone can do so, which doesn't mean that they're really the experts about it.
Correct.
Okay, that's
Correct.
definitely for me as an investor. I now expected that yes, Susan is the one who really is the agent, and she should know the most. I can definitely understand the controversy about it. Yeah, definitely. Okay. Thank you so much for the clarifications, because me personally, I also was like a little bit confused between like MLS and then Zillow, and I thought it was like more or less the same. But now I understand that.
So the other thing you need to know is that you as a private consumer cannot always access a MLS system because the MLS system is specifically for the agent community and for agents that have licenses. Some MLSs around the country do have a public-facing way you can access it, but for the most part, most do not. In New York City, we have a partial public-facing system, but it does not give you access to all of the listings, and it also does not give you access to the most latest ones. Only a skilled agent would be able to give you access to all the listings.
Absolutely. Okay, understand. Perfect. Thank you so much. You just mentioned more or less like the hustle and also the dedication which you put into your work in order to maintain good relationship with both sides, the consumer side or investment side, but also obviously the deal flow side as per getting listings. What do you focus more on?
So because we are in a soft market in New York City, I have pushed almost all my focus on the buyer side. I am working on some new technology systems that I'm excited about that I hope to launch in the next year or so.
Nice.
When the market changes and it becomes a seller market, which means that prices are going up and things are moving quickly, I'll move heavily on the selling side. But right now, I'm mostly focused on the buyer side. However, I do have some listings, and I do have, if clients want to sell, they'll sell. But otherwise, I'm mostly focused on the buyer side.
How do you do it? How do you make sure that you are? How did you make, or how have you made sure to come up to 100 million in sales? What is your secret sauce, which part of it, which you are willing to share to the audience?
I'm going to tell you my secret. I am type A. I like to be organized. I like to use technology. I am a one-man show, but I am very efficient with my time. So my secret system that I have is a threefold system. One is I have a binder. In this binder, I write every single client or real estate opportunity that I get. So if it's a client that's looking for a 2-bedroom, I'll put that in there with a few bullet points that they want to look at a certain neighborhood and price point. And then every Monday, I go through that book and I just look at every single name and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that person. I need to reach out to that person. I need to follow up with this person. That's number one. Number two is I have a CRM system that I also look on a daily basis, and those are of active clients that and an active deal flow that I'm working on as we speak. And so, for example, like today, I have right now, currently active, I have 7 deals waiting to close, and I have 2 contracts out. And it's just a system that I have in order to keep me organized. And then number 3, secret sauce, is every Monday with every active client, I send them a weekly update of where we are, what we did in the past week, how many units we looked at, or how many inquiries we got, and what the plan is for this coming week. In the body of that email, I have a table of where we are in milestones of what we have accomplished. Are we in the offer stage? Are we in the doing a walkthrough? Need to get a contract closed by this date? And it's a snapshot to let them know where they are in the process. It takes away a lot of the complications that people have of when you engage with an agent. It's a very
Opaque.
one-on-one. You got
Yeah.
to go back and forth, many emails. My system is all systemized,
Yeah.
and it just shows you exactly where you are at any one point, and then you can always go back and forth and watch a video on next steps, and it just makes things a lot more easier.
Wow, amazing. Sounds very good. And and you do that for both investor side and also the
Yes,
seller side as well.
only if you're an active client will you get this. That you automatically get into the system.
Yeah.
If you're a warm or a cold lead or a client, you get put on the back burner. And then once you start engaging or you tell me that you're ready to start on this time frame, then you be put on that system.
Got it. Now, one question which comes up, if you now then have like one seller's agent and one buyer's agent, is there sometimes frictions where you say, hey, I have such a great system, but the seller's agent is not really following through and stuff? Or can you also just do and implement your system on both ends, even though it's like you have two agents?
Are you saying if I am the buyer's agent and someone else is the seller's agent? Or what are you saying?
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
so you bring up a very good question, and I'm not trying to gloat about myself, but many times when I have a listing or I'm the buyer side and I interact with the other agent and their client, many times they become my clients also because I basically take over the entire process. I help with all the paperwork. I get things moving forward. I want to work with everybody. I'm
Yeah.
more of that kind of person. I'm not there to just be like, no, you have to do it my way, and I don't want to cooperate with you.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking to make the deal happen, and also let everybody enjoy the experience. I remember when I was young, I would go to open houses with my parents, and my mom would be like, "Do not show any expression if you like it or whatever, because you don't want to give the seller any leverage." And I don't agree with that. I think that if you like something, just be honest. The seller wants to know that you are serious and that you really want it, or you're just going to waste their time.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, let's be transparent. Let's have a good experience as much as possible, because I'm sure and a lot of your clients know, buying and selling is not a exciting experience. There's always something that goes wrong. And because it's such a big amount of money that goes into every purchase, it's a big emotional thing, roller coaster, that I try to make it as easy as possible for my clients.
I think you bring up a very interesting point, a very important point, the emotion. You can have on the one hand, like, be super professional, have the best systems in place, but in fact, like listening to the potential investor and also weathering maybe some obstacles which you might face coming along, which obviously happen. I think once you have like an emotional connect with the other party, it is much easier to really overcome those obstacles.
Yes, I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I have had clients come to me, or they would come to me after they've already had a bad experience, and they're like, I can't believe that you exist, or this kind of service exists, because before I would have to do all the work, and I would have to keep emailing my broker, calling them, never respond. And it's unfortunately in my industry, I don't know if it's the same around the world, but it's the industry has a very low barrier to entry. Anyone can get a license easily. But many of them don't understand that this is an actual business and it's a job, and you have to be proactive and you have to be professional in order to succeed.
Yeah, perfect. Oh, it's super interesting. Even though you're going even one step further, you are you're active in good cause and you're also donating. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing and how you're contributing to the society.
So, being a successful real estate agent is great, but at the end of the day, we're glorified salespeople, and there has to be more to life than just selling things. I'm not making anything anymore. I'm not producing, and so I want to have a bigger impact in society. And really, the part of society that gets neglected a lot is the environment and animal rights. And so I have aligned myself with with Rainforest Trust, which is a top charity around the world that really tries to use good and smart business practices to conserve the rainforest and its local ecology. And to date, we have through our sponsorship, through the Modern Agent sponsorship, we have been able to save 10,000 acres of rainforest.
Wow.
And to me, that's still a very, very drop in the bucket accomplishment. But I feel that everyone needs to make a difference, and it's not just that. Like, for example, I'm a big animal lover. I have two cats, and you may have seen some of them running in the background. I became a vegetarian last September. I tried to be as mindful on my use of plastic, recycling. Actually, I have a video that just came out on 7 easy ways to be green right now. So I am trying to become a steward for these causes that I believe in, and I just think it's good and smart business to do it. And I mean, look at where we are today, right? As out of this taping, there's this big coronavirus scare going on. Just 2 months ago, the bush in Australia was on fire. I mean, it's a nonstop ecological disaster that we're going through, and I cannot just sit by and let the world continue without trying to make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. Great words. Really appreciate it. Concerning vegetarian, I think there will be generations somewhere in the future that they say, "Hey, you remember there were, in the past people used to eat animals." I think it will be so.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I mean, have you tried some of the meatless meats like
Yes.
Beyond Meat, Impossible?
Actually, here in the University of Zurich, they have a spin-off of the university with with fake poultry, with fake chicken,
Oh
which
wow,
is it's amazing.
chicken! I have not
Yeah,
heard of that. Wow.
no, it's really good. I went to the university to eat it, and it's super tasty and it's amazing. Yeah.
I am so excited. I mean, it's amazing that it tastes like meat. And you know what's really exciting is that even in America, these meat products in restaurants and in grocery stores, they sell out so quickly that it's hard to get it, which shows that there's so much demand for these alternative foods that people want it. And people, I think, at least in like New York City, people care about their diet, and they also care about the environment. So it's a win-win situation, and I think that I agree with you. It's the future.
Absolutely, no, I totally agree. Concerning back to your business, it's obvious it's also part of your business, but back to your listings. You also uploaded a listing on Hello Casa.
Yes.
Why don't you? I'm just gonna share that now to our audience. Why don't you talk us or walk us through a little bit and tell us a little about what it is?
Sure. Is it going to pop up on my screen, or just I have to go to your
It
site?
is. You just can walk us through. It's
Okay,
right now. Right now, I'm sharing it. It's the timeless
sure.
Brooklyn two bedroom with terrace for 1.395 million. Yeah.
So this brand new apartment actually came on the market today. And as I explained to you, Brooklyn is a borough of Manhattan that is very popular, and prices have been shooting up. This is a very good example. This specific property sold in 2010 or 2011 for around 700,000 US dollars. We put it on the market today for 1.4 million US dollars.
Wow.
It is in a walk-up brownstone, so there's no elevator. There's only 4 apartments in the building. This unit is on the 3rd floor of the building, and it has a private deck. She had a interior designer come in and completely renovate. Now you can imagine these are quite old buildings, could be 70, 80 years old. And they basically take the interior, rip it out, take it down to the studs, and rebuild it. The beautiful thing about this home is it has 2 wood-burning fireplaces. The architect was able to save one of the walls that had exposed brick and paint it in a white finish. And so it gives it a very nice warm finish throughout the entire apartment. And this home also has a private terrace. So imagine in the summertime in New York City, you have beautiful indoor-outdoor living, where it's great for entertaining, bringing friends over, having dinner at night. It's just a wonderful property in a wonderful neighborhood.
Absolutely. Great. Is it still...
One...
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry,
sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I was about to ask, is it still allowed in New York City to have like an open fireplace?
You can have an electric grill in New York City, but you cannot have a gas grill or a propane tank. If you have a gas grill, it has to be a certain number of feet away from the building structure.
Okay.
In order to qualify, but most buildings will not let you do a gas grill, but you can do an electric grill.
Yeah. Okay. Quite common here as well.
But one thing I did want to point out, because we're doing this property, or we're showcasing this property at this time of this virus scare, we were planning on doing an open house this Sunday. And to talk about using technology, instead of doing the open house, I'm going to do a virtual open house on Facebook Live. It's going to be this Sunday at 12 p.m. In New York time. And I am encouraging everybody to come onto my Facebook page, as facebook.com/themodernagent, and you can click on the Facebook Live link, and I will tour this property with you. That way, it reduces people coming to the home and potentially passing off the virus, but it also gives you that experience of being able to walk through the property as if you were actually there.
Awesome.
And this is what I was explaining about. I was able to use technology ahead of the market. This is something new that people are starting to catch on to, and this is what we are always thinking of in order to be ahead of the market.
So nice. I will definitely tune in, and I will also obviously share the link to the audio. Yeah, absolutely. I have a few final questions before we wrap up. There's also one show which is called, which is about New York City, and I would like to know your point of view on how much is reality and how much is really like is a little bit show. It's called the $1 Million Listing, where one person is showing more or less like his daily life on how he's doing it and how he's selling a lot of real estate and also doing a lot of open houses. Can you like walk us through maybe a normal daily or an average daily life and how much of that is, in your opinion, like reality and how much is a little bit made up?
You know, New York City is a hard place to survive. It has a very high standard of living, and so you really have to hustle. However, this show dramatizes the reality of the real marketplace. I would like to say that the characters on the show are more reality TV stars than they are actually working in the business. Now, don't get me wrong, they get a lot of business because they are really well known in the marketplace, and so they get a lot of listings, but they don't actually work in the listings or show up at the listings or show up at the seller presentation or buyer presentation. They have a lot of junior agents that do the actual transactions. I'm not going to name names, but many of them I've worked with, and I've had very, very frustrating and bad experiences with them. So I would say that it is a lot of smoke and mirrors, but I do also respect them because they've become very successful in their own right.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Another question I have, there are like some top brokerages in New York City, which to me as an outsider seems to be like it's a very strong concentration of a few players. Is it still like, as someone who is, before you mentioned like the MLS system, which is obviously an obstacle for a new entrant, especially when you're independent. How do you see like the possibility of new entrants to be really successful, especially if you don't have a brokerage and also if you don't have a name yet?
Well, in New York, about, I want to say 7 years ago, there was a company called Compass, and I don't know if you've heard of Compass.
I think I heard about it. Yeah.
So Compass is a very large tech real estate company. They grew very fast. They're actually funded by SoftBank, which is a Japanese investment company, and they have a lot of private equity, and they've grown very far because they have a lot of deep pockets. they have been able to capture a large percentage of the marketplace, and they've been expanding across the U.S. quite aggressively. I actually worked at Compass before, and I was at Sotheby's International Realty also. And my take is that at the end of the day, it's about the agent. Um, a lot of these firms have to meet their annual sales goals or quarterly sales goals. So sometimes they will diminish the quality of agents that they hire, and just to get to those numbers. To me, it's a culmination of being able to successfully transact on the property, but also building on relationships and having good reputation is very, very important. And I will say that sometimes these firms do not. All the all the agents don't have that same kind of reputation, and so sometimes they will forego that just to get to their bottom line. But there are a few key players that I have a lot of respect for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was amazing what you just said, because it really boils down to the personal interaction and also like the personal connect. To be honest, like if I make business, and especially if I want to invest like a lot of money, if the agent just if I feel like he doesn't really care about me, I couldn't care less about investment. Maybe I am a little bit too, I don't know, Latino in my heart, but still, like for me, it's super important that the personal connect is there, and I feel that I'm being taken care of.
When I grew up in Hong Kong, Hong Kong has. Have you been to Hong Kong?
Unfortunately, only on the airport. But I wanted to go out, but it was just a layover. Next time I will go.
Hong Kong is known for their service. And they really pay attention to making sure that the client is happy. And I grew up in that culture. And when my family bought in New York, we had a terrible experience buying from a new development, and ultimately my parents lost a lot of money, ended up paying very high interest rates, and just did not have a good experience overall. And that's actually one of the reasons I became an agent, is to help families like my family not go through what we went through, and to be able to protect, especially foreign buyers, from going through these things, because there are cultural differences. How someone overseas talks and understands how a process is very different from how it happens here. And my job is to bridge that cultural divide and make sure that we explain to you carefully what the entire process is. And so that's one of the reasons why I became an agent.
Awesome. No, absolutely. Totally agree. Give us your last sentences and words about personal tips. What you suggest either an agent or a real estate investor when it comes to buying and interacting and investing in real estate in New York City?
So New York City is unlike any market in America. And what I mean by that is that it's complicated. Not every property would be appropriate for a foreign investor or foreign buyer to be able to buy, because they may have some strict rules on rental. If you find something that's priced too good to be true, most likely it's not going to be for you. There are a lot of tricky, sneaky things that happen in the marketplace, and if you don't know how it works, it can land up costing you a lot of money. My recommendation for a foreigner is to read up online about the process of buying. If there's a property like a condo or a house and you like it, read up and see if you can find more information about that type of property or that type of neighborhood, and understand how transactions happen in that area. And then 3 is really researching a good agent. Now, when you buy in New York City and you have a buyer's agent, you don't pay them anything. Their fee is paid by the seller. The seller will pay the buyer's agent and the seller's agent the fee. So why wouldn't you, as a foreigner, get the expert representation of a experienced agent to help you, and there's no money out of your pocket? It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so good to know. That's amazing. Thank you so much for these insights. Thank you so much for the entire call. I learned so many things, to be honest. It was amazing.
For having me. It's really exciting. This is exactly the reasons why I got into this business, is to help foreigners understand the process of buying in the US and in America, in New York City. So I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome. How can people contact you?
Very easy. You can just visit my website, themodernagent.com. You can go onto your favorite social media network and just search for The Modern Agent, and I'm likely there as well.
Perfect. And you also have a great YouTube channel, I have to point out.
I have a YouTube channel, yes. Yes, I highly recommend taking a look at that also.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone should check it out, and also we'll link to it. Mickey, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your presence here, for all your insights. I learned so many things. I wish you a very nice afternoon.
Awesome.
And I send the best regards to New York City.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.